Hello, everyone. I wanted to share about how fair treatment reform and reentry came into existence, but I have to tell a little bit of a history of myself before I do that. I did many years in prison, was released January 24th, 2011. Shortly after I got released, I got voted in as the president of Ohio Cure. To be honest, at that point, I was really wanting to help one of my good friends, Gerald Loomer, out, who I knew was totally innocent of his crime. He was battling cancer at the time, and I didn't know how bad it was until his sister called me in the middle of the night one night, and that FMC took out the feeding tube, and OSU told them not to take out the feeding tube, but FMC still did it. And you would think they would have to listen to the doctor. But he passed away. We even had a fundraiser. We raised over $500. We had an attorney that agreed to help him out, at least to get parole, but no guarantees there. And I have kept in contact with his family, though. But I felt really bad when he passed away. He was like my brother when I was locked up. We ate together. We did just about everything together. But I was with Cure for maybe 8 months, and this lady who I really didn't know showed up at one of my protests one time, jumping all around. And to be honest, I told everybody, I said, stay away from her. She's on drugs. Well, Amy Wicks is who she is. She came over to where I was at, and she said who she was, and she just got out of prison. I just got out of prison a month apart from each other. And she said, let's go out for coffee. And so I went with her to coffee to one of the local places downtown. And she shared a little bit about her group. I shared a little bit about Cure. She started coming to the Cure meetings. And during most of the time, she kept saying, why don't you come over to be my first president of In the Name of Justice? I didn't think very hard on that. I jumped on it. For one, I liked Amy. I believed in her cause. Hers was a little bit different than mine. Hers was focused on county jail time. Mine was focused on the prison time. But we worked together so good because the cause we got was either county jails or prisons. And, she would handle the county jail. Of course, I was starting to learn it. I was being introduced to a lot of the county officials. I introduced Amy to a lot of the state officials. We had an opportunity to meet with the governor. And we met so many awesome people. And then I ended up breaking off from Amy. Amy was my best friend. We cared about each other. We had a little disagreement shortly. It didn't last long. None of us ever did, and it was mostly my fault. But I was sitting in a restaurant one day and telling a couple people some of my ideas, what I wanted to do, and how I wanted to put it together, which I really wasn't sure, to be honest, at that time. And that's really how our group came to existence. But that's not how the name was. I was being interviewed by the Columbus Dispatch. I think it was by Alan Johnson at the time, and he said, what's the name of your group? I said, Fair Treatment Reform, because we didn't put that reentry on until we got the 501c3. So a lot of people call us FTR for abbreviation. That is, ours is really FTRR, but we like FTR. And we wanted to focus at the time primarily on parole reform. And we have kept true to that, and we have not went away from that at all. We have done a little bit of reentry, but it seems to me there's no sense to do a lot in reentry until we can get these folks out of prison and have a fair chance. And we're not saying just release people. We're saying release the right people, the people that have changed. We went through so many presidents, so many vice presidents. one of my good friends, Terry, she just left, but she'll always be part of us and, come to our events and stuff. She was there from day one. Jamal Brown was the president before Victoria, and Victoria was good with the computer stuff. Jamal was great at public speaking. And then here comes Candace, and she's just awesome. She has took us to places that I never thought we would get to. She's sometimes hard, and you had to be. She demands perfection, which she needs to. I gave her full reign, with the group because I believe in her passion. She does have a husband who's incarcerated. Most of our board members have a loved one incarcerated, and almost all of our supporters. There's some supporters that don't, though. But it's taken us 9 years, 10 years now. No, 9 years, I think. We've been trying to reform the pro board ever since I was with Cure, and that was not one of Cure's passions, but that was one of mine. When I was with Amy, we kept meeting with legislators. Then when we started this group, Beverly Seymour drafted up a rough draft of a proposal. We went around for a whole year until she did a final draft of it before we found a sponsor. And this year we had 2 legislative days. But myself and Candace was called to the House one day, to the House of Representatives, by a young lady said that this state representative wants to meet with you. So we made it, I think, the next day or so. We walked in there. He had a couple other people with him and a legislative aide. We shared about what the proposal was about. He asked a few questions. We got pictures taken with them. Then he said, as soon as we stepped up, we're getting ready to leave. He said, by the way, I'm going to introduce your bill for you. Candace started crying. I just sat there and stared because this was something that we've been working on for years. And it was kind of interesting how this happened. All the legislators was emailed a proposal, but somebody brought it in there and said, I think this would be something that would interest you. And he's a Republican, but he doesn't sit on the Criminal Justice Committee or any of the prison committees, but he does believe people should be treated fair. So that's how our bill got someone to sponsor it, and we still have a lot of work to do. We have to review it when we get it back. It has to go back for a House bill number. It has to get introduced in the committee testifying on behalf and opposed to it, letters of support, and you'd go through the website on that, which I don't really know how to do that, but we'll be posting stuff on that. But change is coming. 8 or 9 years of doing this and working harder than ever this last year. Well, I should say since February. At that time, I think Candace was our secretary, and she replaced Victoria as our president. But, we did not think we'd get one this fast. I did believe we would get one because when Shirley Smith came out with all the corruption on the pro board, which we already knew, we've been saying it for years. The media came out. We got some that won't report both sides, like the Columbus Dispatch, Cleveland.com. They'll interview the state, but they won't interview our side on our bill. ABC 6 News and Tara Morgan's been great. They've been fair. They've done a couple stories on us. They interviewed the director. They're going to follow up on our bill. They're going to come to a conference August 3rd. Everything is going in the right direction, but has taken years. And when we get this introduced and passed, then, of course, there's going to be something else that we need to get involved in. But we have to pick our battles, the winnable battles, or the ones that are most important. I'm not so interested in finding the chow hall food, but medical clemencies, conditions in the prison. There's one institution now, and I forget where it was at. Candace was just telling me it was like 90. Oh, it was Madison, the number one side. The dorm was like 96 degrees in there. You know, and they have no programming for the most part, and I mean it's just awful over there. So we'll step in and help as we can. I do want to mention another thing is this is the fourth year that FTRR is handling our conference. In the past, it has always been reentry, which is a big passion of ours. But this year, it's going to be called the Voices of Reform Conference, and it's going to be on wrongful convictions and pro-reform. Some of the, I just read part of it. Ezra Foster will be our MC. I was at Marion with him. Frank Minkus and David Ward will talk about their experience with the Pro Board. Beverly Seymour will either be a speaker or doing a workshop. Lynette Grace, who was a victim of a brutal stabbing, and the young man that stabbed her sometimes killed his mother by stabbing. Well, she forgave the young kid, and she's gone to the Pro Board and said, this guy needs to come home. He's done enough time. So what does the Pro Board do? They treat her like she's a criminal. And, you know, they will give people more time if the victims will oppose their release. But when the victim comes forward and says, release him, that doesn't make any difference. Some of the workshops are wrongful convictions and expungement. They're going to have a table out there, public defenders on expungements, so that people can get the paperwork for that. Advocating for your loved one, I believe that's going to be Candace Hudson on that one. Juvenile convicted as an adult is going to be public defenders again. And how to introduce a bill, we're working on getting a legislator for that as well. We do have resource vendor tables there. They are $20 a piece, and if you would be interested in a table, you would have to pay through our website at www.fairtreatmentreformandreentry.org. We will have hot dogs and sloppy joes there that we will ask for a donation of a certain amount to help cover the cost of the conference. We did not get a grant this year, so we're funding it by ourselves. We've been looking for sponsors, but so far nobody agreed to be our sponsor. So that conference is August 3rd from 11 to 5 p.m. at the Whitehall United Methodist Church, which is at 525 Bernhard Road, Whitehall, Ohio, 43213. If you're coming from other parts of the state or surrounding states, let's carpool so more people can come and maybe everybody can chip in for gas or something. And like I said, there's going to be vendors there, and we still have a few tables open. You would have to pay the $20 to our website at www.fairtreatmentreformandreentry.org. So this is really really an exciting time for our group. On the bottom of the conference flyer says, this conference is part of our organization's campaign to create solutions and solve problems in our prison system. Our mission is to advocate and bring awareness. And that is really simple. There's not in Ohio that are actually working on pro reform. Actually, I think we're the only one to my knowledge. You know, we don't have staff members or DRC employees involved with that group. We've had some attend our meetings because I recognize them. Some of the ones that retired especially. But we will not have a DRC person sit on our board because that would be a conflict of interest. And we don't dislike anybody at the DRC, but we don't agree with 99% of the stuff that's happening when it comes to the Pro Board. Well, actually, it's 100% when it comes to the Pro Board. And they know where we stand. You know, we're not going to bash them, but we're going to tell the truth. And we're going to accomplish our goals, because so many men and women are counting on a fair parole hearing. Remember, some of these guys been down 56 years, I just heard the other day, and he had 15 to life. He should have been released after 15 years, as long as his behavior while he was incarcerated warranted that. So, it's going to take a strong effort on all people's parts, and networking and bringing people together. You don't always have to agree with everybody, but you do need to respect people. Myself and Candace don't always agree on stuff, but we respect each other. And that's what makes it, an organization strong, and an organization that's going to be successful. This group will continue after my death. And it needs to. Unless it won't continue its mission. And its mission is, fair laws, fair treatment of inmates, assisting them upon their release. So there's a lot of things that we need to start working on, everyone. But I appreciate this time to share. I just want people to really understand how fair treatment and reform came to existence. It didn't happen overnight, and we're still working on it. It's a lot of work. Sometimes I think it's tougher than a full-time job, because I start getting phone calls at 6 in the morning. They end at 11:30, 12 at night. Candace is up bright and early, doing letters, making phone calls, doing what a president is supposed to do. Of course, we have other board members as well: vice president, secretary, a treasurer, a PR person, and Lynette Grace, and I forget what her title is, but she'll be the communication between the victims. I really can't, because I was incarcerated, but I have been, and at times I was able to calm them down and have them think, and like Lynette Grace says, if we don't learn how to forgive as people, we will never heal. As tough as it may be at times, forgiveness is the key. Folks, if you would like to reach us, you could send us an email at fairtreatmentreform@gmail.com, or Candace's is fairtreatmentreform.candace@gmail.com. We also have one for our bill, so that you can be notified and updated on everything on that. And that is fairtreatmentreform.members@gmail.com. If you're able to make a small donation of any amount, please do it through our website at www.fairtreatmentreformandreentry.org. Our number is 614-404-4924. Have a great day, everybody, and change is coming. Thank you.